the mental cases. I had the people in the stockade that you have to interview and follow up with. I had to teach a Saturday class in driver education for the people that got tickets on the base. I had all of the good duty. I had what's called a shit detail. And that was what I did, and I was the only second lieutenant in this whole unit of 2,800 people that had to do that. So they paid me back, and consequently I hated the Army. I literally hated the Army, and I got out in 6 months and I went back to Austin. I have a discharge. I'm a captain. I get a 20% discount at Home Depot and Lowe's and everything because I killed Germans and Japs in the war. And we drove them all out of Fort Sill all the way down to Wichita Falls. There were just very few of them left. And that started my life. I'm seriously thinking about another vehicle.
Yeah.
This one is, I don't know, 7 years old. It's got 75,000 miles, probably out of warranty.
Yeah.
But I got it because it's a 3-seater, and rarely do I put somebody in the third seat. In fact, usually I have it down. I keep a lawn chair back there where I can go talk to Grandma and have a place, Mima, and have a place to sit.
Yeah.
So when I go out to the cemetery, it's hot. I set the chair in the shade of a tree and we visit. It's kind of interesting how I wound up at Fort Hood. When you graduate from Fort Sill, you have to get assigned. And there's one in Fort Ord, California, Fort Bragg, Kentucky. They're all over the United States. Well, I had to go to Fort Hood because Monica was there, going to college there, and we had to be down there by Austin. Well, these guys that were from Texas A&M ahead of me that went to the Army, they said, "You're not going to get what you want. You're going to get the opposite of what you want." That's the Army way. So I put down, my first choice was Fort Ord, California. My second choice was Fort Bragg, Kentucky, and my third choice was Fort Hood, Texas. Guess where I got? Fort Hood, Texas, because that's where they thought I didn't want to go. So I got to go to Austin, and Monica rented an apartment with Stephanie, and I lived in the Army, 90 miles away or something, but I could go home on the weekend. And I got out of the Army and had to go to reserve for 7 years in El Paso every summer for 2 weeks. And I went to work. I was working for the state auditor's office. Immediately, she got a degree, and we said, "Let's hook it and go back home to Dallas." And I resigned, and I was their fair-haired boy. Back then, I was smart, not like I am now. And I went to get a job in Dallas, and they wanted me to stay. They gave me the Army 3-year deal, and they gave me a raise and everything. And I went to Dallas, got a job at International Harvester Company. Didn't know what to work as or anything. I wanted to be an accountant, I thought. And I worked I got a job as a collector for International Harvester Company. First job I could really get. I hadn't had a job. And I was a collector. I went out and collected past due payments off truckers and farmers. And that was my job. And if they didn't pay, I had to repossess their stuff. Good job, right? They furnished me a truck, an expense report, and paid me $460 a month. Keep in mind I was making $675 when I went to Texas A&M. And then I became International Harvester's fair-haired boy. I said, "Well, how do I get up to another job?" And they said, "Well, you compete with these other 12 guys for a credit supervisor's job, which is a better, And so I said, "How long does that take?" And they said, "About 6 years is normal." Well, in 1 year and 10 months, I was credit supervisor because I was their fair-haired boy. And I worked there, and the next job up was credit manager. And I worked there, and it was going to take a long time to get up to that job. They called me in one day, and it's like the stealing peaches story. I said, "What have I done now?" I had to go to the boss's office, which I rarely went to, And I went in there and they had some wine, and we had little wine glasses, and they said, "Congratulations, you've been promoted." I said, "Wonderful, wonderful." And they said, I said, "What's my job?" And they said, "You're credit manager in Oakland, California." And I said, "Okay. And back then, if you had a job and you didn't take it and you stayed at where you are, there's a funnel that goes to management, and you clog up the funnel. They want you out of the field. So if you don't take a promotion, it's kind of bad. You're not their fair-haired boy anymore. So I drank the wine and I thanked them, and next Monday I was sick. I got off work and I went to an employment agency and I started interviewing for jobs. And I had never been in sales before, but I knew I had a gift of gab because that's how I was first sergeant and all those things. And so I went there and I said, "I'm going to sell computers." Back then a computer was a combination accounting machine and computer. So I went to Burroughs, which was the leader, NCR, which was Dex, and Philips, which you'd never heard of it, but they made a semi-computer, and I went and interviewed all three of them. I got a job offer from all three of them. I went to work for Burroughs selling computers. Never been in sales before. And like I say, I became their fair-haired boy right away. I always did that. I did well. And they take you to this little school and you learn how to sell the smaller line, which is calculators and cash registers and stuff. And they grade you. I had guys there from Santa Fe and Oklahoma City, and they all come there and you have this class. Well, I looked around and I was an old country boy, and these guys were city slickers. And I said, "David Cox, you're in deep doo-doo." I said, "These guys are sharper than you are." And I thought that and went through the class, and I was number one in the class. And when you leave the class, they keep up with your sales when you go back to your unit for, I think, a 3-month period of time or something. And they publish it and show how they're doing. And I won the class sales thing when I got back, and I had 129 units sold. And you're looking at the sheet on what the others had sold. Second place was 39. So I started saying, "I think you're going to be able to sell." And I did. I went into sales, and I did well. They have a thing called Legion of Honor, which you sell more than your quota. They give you a little pin to wear in your lapel. It has a little diamond in it, and next year you get 2 diamonds in your pin, and you go on. And they had a deal where if you make Legion of Honor for 10 straight years, you get this ring that has a diamond in it, and it's a big deal. But nobody gets there, Well, after about 7 years that I had made it, I became sales manager and had a group under me. And I didn't know it. I wanted that Legion of Honor deal at 10 years, And it becomes a thing with you. You don't want to do it. And so I had to make 3 more years as a sales manager, which means we really had to produce. And right before I made it, and right before I got it, I told my regional manager, who was in Dallas, I said, "I've got the ring coming." And I said, "I'd love to see what I won. Would you tell me somebody that has one that I can go talk to them and see what I'm going to get?" And he said, "Okay." And he called me back in the next week and he said, "We got some bad news for you." And he said, "We can't show you that ring." And I said, "Why?" He said, "Nobody's ever won one." I got one in the drawer over here. But I did well. And twice while I was there, they called me in, the wine glass thing again, and I got promoted to St. Louis, Missouri, that I turned down. And I blamed my daddy, who was semi-paralyzed, and I had to take care of him. 2 years later, I got promoted to Detroit, Michigan to teach, because I was one of their star salesmen. They said, "Well, if you're that good, you can teach others to be that good." And I could see myself walking in the snow and all that stuff up there, so I didn't go. So I turned down all of my promotions. But I started my own company